What the heck, man? Okay. So let's go ahead. Check. 1098. Check. Go ahead. Check. 1098. Check. Alright, real question is, are we actually streaming yet? Welcome back in, Trey Lowell here. No, not yet. Okay, so let's go here. Are we actually streaming yet? Let's bring in. No, not yet. Okay, so let's go here. Okay, so and public. Okay, at that point we should pretty much be live, and we will see what ends up happening here. Go ahead and check it on the phone just to make sure that we're getting everything that we need here, and doing an audio check as well for anyone that might be wondering. Let's see how that sounds. Alright, doesn't sound that bad. Alright, so more of just goofing around Friday night. Kind of just wanting to see how live footage would even look in this particular scenario. And then on top of that, got a unique little microphone from the guys over at Movo recently, the GM5 Gooseneck USB microphone. And I thought it'd be unique to give this a shot in regards to just like live streaming, seeing how the audio is going to sound. Yeah, and just seeing if there's any kind of delay. So for anybody out there, love. Oh, I think I just muted it. Shit. So bear with me here. Like I mentioned earlier, new microphone setup. Just want to see how it looks, sounds, operational wise, if it is even something that looks doable. And from what I can tell so far, at least on everything reading out of my computer, it looks pretty solid. But easy, simple microphone setup. And like I mentioned in the title, just kind of goofing around tonight. Any questions in regards to the Lumix S5, live streaming, channel updates, anything like that, feel free to drop a comment in the comment section below. But right now, just doing a live test on a Friday to see how this would even function in the new studio, mainly because like audio-wise, I have my HVAC system over here, and it's just an absolute nightmare. But a microphone like this might actually give me a fighting chance in regards to like how this thing is going to function. And like from what I can tell so far, it looks like it sounds pretty good, and there's not any delay. So at that point, cheers to those that are out here watching. Not really looking for numbers, more just to goof around and do a proof of concept. Also, one thing that I want to try to do is switch between camera angles within OBS, which is something that I don't really do too much. But you guys can see over here, obviously, we do not have big numbers on the live stream. That is to be expected. But at the same time, we'll go over some Lumix S5 stuff. So if anyone's familiar or maybe you're new to the channel, one thing I love to talk about is video production and specifically how I've incorporated Lumix cameras into my video workflow. One thing that's just like a huge bonus and that I found with particularly the Lumix line of cameras is while they might not be marketed as much as other camera brands, I just genuinely do think that like the Lumix S5 is just a beast of the camera. I used to shoot with the Panasonic GH5, and before that I even shot with the Lumix GH4. So been in the Lumix lineup of cameras for quite a while. And it kind of just leads me to, it's just one of those things I'm passionate about, I love to talk about, and in my personal experience with the Lumix cameras, I've just never been let down, and it's always been kind of a great bang for the buck. So while it's a camera brand that's probably not promoted as much as I would ideally like it, because as someone that's just a fan of Panasonic and Lumix in general, I wish they'd put some marketing dollars behind kind of getting their cameras out to the public and tell them why they're oh so great. But at the same time, I get it. Canon and Sony have cornered the market, and those cameras are amazing and they bring to the table different things that I might not be looking for in my workflow, but I do find that when I've teamed up with other people and they bring the Canons or the Sonys to the table, it's a nice little kind of added bonus to kind of complement. The S5 is what I was looking for. But typically when I come across most people, they're most likely shooting Sony or they're shooting Canon. And recently, I actually did an event where I was using my S5 for an event recap video, and I teamed up with a guy that was also using, piece of glass, pretty much this one. We'll mute that. That was using a Canon R6. Oh, of course, the ad comes in right as I switch camera angles. But, so, just got done shooting an event recap. Good grief, ads everywhere. That's my own damn fault, too. Well, it is what it is. So, here we go. All right, this is me obviously talking in the studio, and you guys can see some footage that's running here. And like I mentioned, recently I just got done shooting an event recap video for a 501c3 nonprofit group based in Austin, Texas. I actually linked up with this group years ago in DC, and I want to say for the past 2 years now, I've been shooting their big year-end event called Revolution. Now, one thing they do is they hire me not only to do the videography, but they also hire me to do the photography. And you guys can kind of see in the video footage right here, this is a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look into the trip itself. Unique trip, a grind. I mean, the days that we were working were absolutely ridiculous, but as you guys can see in the video footage, man, it was a blast. We did interviews, we shot good footage, we set up our own little station, we shoot some BTS of the actual venue space getting set up. We kind of covered all the different dynamics in regards to filming an event recap. And with this particular video, we did a how-to in regards to showing you guys from beginning to end of our workflow, some of the things and steps that we take in regards to getting our end product. And a lot of it has to do with planning and preparation. And also, it's just one of those things where it's going to be a lot of trial and error. And at the same time, you just got to take the things you learn and implement it the next time. Every time, just be growing and learning. So like I mentioned, we were talking about the event recap video that I just got done filming with the Lumix S5. And we used a combination of cameras. We used the Lumix S5 as our A camera. We used, Lumix S5. Now, granted, I had it completely rigged out, V-mount battery, monitor on there. We had the 24-105 paired up with the Sigma MC21 adapter, which then also allowed us to use the Old Faithful 70-200. And the reason that I kind of bring up those particular pieces of glass is that when it comes to event recaps, it comes to big venue spaces, I just find that that lens combination, specifically whether it be on the S5 or the GH5 or the GH4, great. So shooting with the S5 as the A cam, shooting with two GH5s as our B cam. Now I had a GH5, and then also we'll click over here. My guy Eli had an S5 or a GH5 as well. Now you guys can kind of see some of the footage here that we have running. This is a combination of the GH5, the S5, and then also Eli brought his Canon R6. Now the luxury of the R6 was going to be a lot of gimbal shots. Oh, there you can see him right there. Eli on his little gimbal setup here in just a second. And he was rocking that Canon R6 paired up with the Canon 24-105 running autofocus on a DJI gimbal. You can see him right here, backwards hat. And that was kind of his go-to for the entire event. This guy was pretty much on that or on a GH5, gimbal shots, tripod shots, kind of switching them up. And on his gimbal, he was actually shooting 60 frames per second, so we had the ability to do some slow motion. But a little bit of back note in regards to what I was shooting, I was pretty much shooting with that S5 24 frames per second, or I was actually shooting slow-mo 60. So that kind of gave us a combination of different types of footage to work with. Also, you kind of can see right now, this is the interview portion where we actually shot several interviews for that piece of content. That is kind of the driver of the video. Shot all of those with the S5 using the 24-105, shooting at a f4. So no super blurry backgrounds, but all the shots that we ended up doing were with big depth of field in regards to the rooms that we were actually conducting the interviews in. Lots of space, lots of lots of everything. Golly, I'm at a loss of words. But definitely gave a look and feel that we were looking for. Now, if you guys have any questions, drop it in the comment section below in regards to any specifics when it comes to the Lumix S5. I want to start using vintage lenses much more on my S1 and S5. Dude, I agree with you on that. A1, I totally agree. And A1 makes a great point in regards to using vintage lens on the Lumix S1, the S5, the S1H, even vintage lens on like an S5 or, golly, a GH5 or a GH5S, even a GH4. One thing, as I think many of you start to venture down the wormhole of different pieces of glass, different camera bodies, getting different looks, different feels, is going to be the types of lenses that you're using. And he brings up a great point in regards to vintage lenses are going to give you a unique look that you're just really not going to get in some of these newer lenses. Now, like I've been mentioning, I shoot with all the Canon EF mount glass. Absolutely love it. Love the look. But I'm going to give my own criticism, and a lot of the footage that I shoot sometimes it's almost too sharp, it's too crisp, and so I think with vintage lenses, that's where you can kind of give yourself a different look, a different feel. Some people are going to be a little scared because of they're going to be having to use manual focus, but let's be honest, if you're a Lumix shooter, you're used to manual focus anyways, so it's going to go ahead and be right up your wheelhouse. Now, Dan, what picture profiles and processes did you use to get the Canon and Panasonic footage to look similar in regards to color, etc.? So, Dan, really the only thing that we did, and this is, I'm not going to say I was being lazy, but I used Rec 709 in the GH5s. As far as white balance goes, we matched it all across all lines. Now, the Canon R6 did not have a Rec 709 profile, so I actually just advised Eli to just let's match white balances, and then on top of that, I think we shot in either a natural or we might even done the standard profile. Now, when I got up into Final Cut and I was kind of starting to match the colors, if anything, I kind of desaturated the Canon colors a little bit, and sometimes I even took some of the shadows and lifted them a little bit. What I found is like a lot of times the Canon just crushed the shadows and the kind of like vibrancy or the saturation was pretty high, but I liked the look of it, so I just did my best to try to match those two. Now, I don't know if that answers all your questions, but I will say this. In regards to the particular event that we were shooting, I pass over all the raw footage to the client. That's not always advised, but I have a personal relationship with them. So I was shooting 8-bit Rec 709, and really all of that is to be able to pass it over to them. Like, I did all the video editing and things of that nature, but down the road they're going to want to use some of this content in like little Instagram reels. They're going to want to use it in other kind of things, and they're not going to need me for that editing process. So a lot of times, just for simplicity of workflow with clients, it's 8-bit, so they're not having to pull it in any kind of editor. They're not having to open it in any weird kind of like encoder. And then on top of that, I'm shooting natural profiles or profiles that really look very similar to what it would just be in person. So I hope that answers your question in regards to how we were able to do all that. Like, if I were going to knock myself, I think I did an okay job of matching it, but it was one of those cost-benefit analysis where a client wants it quickly, so I'm shooting pretty natural profiles and stuff like that. Good question, by the way. And I'll just say in regards to those out there that are concerned with matching cameras, one thing that I've found, now I am a Final Cut editor, but I want to say a lot of the editing softwares are going to do this, is when you first bring all your footage into your editor, a lot of times if there is a particular look that you like, so let's say the Canon looks a little bit better than the Panasonic or vice versa, a lot of times you can tell your editor to match that particular camera. And I'm not saying it's going to get it perfect, but it will sometimes do a pretty good job and at least get you on the basis of the two different cameras, excuse me, starting a little to look a little bit more similar. But, you know, it's one of those things where if I were charging tens of thousands of dollars, I probably would have shot 10-bit. I would have shot log for everything, and that would have made my kind of workflow a little bit more seamlessly in regards to matching. But great question, Dan, because that is one in the past that at minimum, I'd say when you're rocking different camera brands, just try to get your white balances all in line. And if you can get profiles as close as possible, I think that's just going to give you a fighting chance. Other things, the Lumix. That comes in super handy, in particular to like the event that we just did. It's just going to be IBIS. IBIS being unbelievable out of this camera, especially when paired up with native glass. Now, as I've mentioned, I'm shooting with that Canon glass, so I do get image stabilization in regards to being able to activate it. So, for instance, let me grab it here. If I am to use the 24-105, I've got built-in image stabilization in regards to just the lens. So that paired up with the IBIS of the Lumix S5 is going to be awesome. And then obviously I think either you've seen it probably in past videos or maybe you haven't, but I use the MC21 adapter, which is pretty simple in regards to boom. A lot of us have EF mount glass. Bam, we're good there. And then pretty much, oh, if I didn't have this stupid Manfrotto, quick release, put it on there, boom, unscrew there, we're here, boop, and that's it. 24-105, boom, we got our lens stabe. Now, one question that I get constantly with this particular camera setup is going to be autofocus. And I don't know how to really relay this other than as someone that has been shooting with the GH4, GH5, now the S5, and even using Cine Glass and things of that nature, autofocus is something that over the past few years I have not relied on for a lick. So I say that because many people, their first question in regards to this particular setup is like, how is autofocus? And I have made videos over and over again strictly stating that nobody in their right mind buys a Lumix camera at this point for autofocus. Now it's getting better. So from someone that GH4 to GH5, now that's 5, it's usable, but there's no way in hell that I go in with the intention of buying this camera for autofocus. Now, for native glass and for photography, autofocus, in my opinion, has been fine. I've been hired for a few gigs. Clients have been happy. I've been hired back to do and replicate exactly what I did with the S5 for photography. But for videography, cinematography, man, you're just going to have to go full manual. And that has never been an issue for me. But it's one thing I just want to disclose with this particular setup you are going to run into is that, yeah, autofocus for photography, good to go. I have watched some videos. I haven't really done any tests myself, but I have heard that if you shoot 30 frames or a little bit higher frame rate, you're going to get better autofocus results. The only thing I can say is with the native 20 to 60 millimeter, I've been doing some board game. I shoot footage for a good friend of mine and chop it up and make Instagram content for some of his clients. And what I do find is the autofocus when I shoot slow-mo 60, I don't mind it. And a lot of times, too, I'm just kind of touching the back of the camera to tell where to pull focus. And I just find that that works pretty well. So the Old Faithful native glasses, while they're super cheap and they give it a very digital look, from someone that's not really relying on autofocus, I do find it comes in handy from time to time. And at least for like, I have vlogged here and there and I use human detect, and it works pretty well. What I will find is that if I have like lights in the back, like I kind of have over here on my left, your right, those will, a lot of times it might pulsate. And I want to say that's just the way their autofocus detection system works. It's just has never been very impressive, but at least with this particular lens, the cheapest lens on the market, it's usable. So, channel update. Ask me anything. If you guys have any questions, drop a comment section below. Like I mentioned, really just kind of experimenting tonight in regards to live streaming with this new microphone that I got sent from Movo, GM5 gooseneck USB microphone. Pretty unique. I don't know if you guys can even see right here. Kind of super funky. It's like basically like a podium mic. But I think the target audience here is, people that are going to be doing speeches, but also people that are going to be doing live streams, are going to be doing Zooms, things of that nature. Just a super easy, boom, XLR here, USB-C to USB into your computer, and then you've got some good crisp audio, and then it's not too huge and distracting. So unique little microphone to goof around with. They sent it to me recently, and I just wanted to put it to test and see how it sounds, mainly for streaming. But, whew, it is hot as all hell here in Florida, I'll tell you that. Out in the garage, got a little AC kicking, but it is just not enough right now. But it leads me into like channel updates and things of that nature. I used to do a ton of product reviews, and I still do on the channel, but one thing I want to lean into more and more at the end of 2022 and leaning into 2023 is just more kind of raw looks into kind of how my video production company even functions and some of the projects that I tackle and kind of different unique little ways that I've come to kind of carve out a niche for myself. What I do find is a lot of people that I meet in regards to videography is a lot of people want to do products, they want to work with brands and things of that nature. And I think predominantly that's because most of us, what we see and consume is like via Instagram. So it's the shiny, polished, in your face, big budget things. And don't get me wrong, like those are definitely, that is in the goals to where I would like to be one day. But in the meantime, to like pay the bills and things of that nature, I've had to come up with different unique ways and avenues to kind of interject my video skill set into different industries. So whether it be, and I've talked about this on the channel, different ways of making income, whether it be in politics, whether it be locally, whether it be through reaching out online to companies that like you might not even think of possibly working with. So like a particular thing that I came across the other day, and fingers crossed maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't, is there's this beauty supply company. And they're in the process right now of they put online this like budget that they have for stylist, for the cinematography, for the actual talent, makeup artist, you name it. And so that's like an industry that, I decided like, why not? Let's take a swing at it. And in the past, I actually did a fun little video for my niece's prom where I just kind of like filmed her getting ready. They were doing her hair and makeup, and it was like, oh shit, I actually have something I can send these people in my portfolio to say, look, I actually can do this. And so I bring all that up to say in regards to the channel update and just where we're going with this is that just be on the lookout to see me trying to go into different industries, doing my best to tell you where I had success and where I didn't, some of the successes, some of the failures. I do find that I've even found a little bit of a niche in regards to editing and chopping up people's podcasts, because a lot of people nowadays, they can record their own footage, but what they don't actually have is the time or the expertise to edit their footage. So I go in a lot of times and I'll find podcasts that are kind of either they're like doing it but not really doing it very well, or maybe even I just know from a little bit of background of the group that they have enough of the funds that I could maybe incentivize them on why they would go with someone like me, and I can maybe take some of the workflow off of their plate and put it on mine, and it can be an exchange where I kind of go in with the idea of more like monthly contract, monthly retainer fees, and that's a way I'm able to actually get some work. So like we mentioned, don't be scared to go out and try to do some stuff that's not tech, that's not tennis shoes, that's not what you're just getting bombarded with constantly. I guarantee you, many of you out there, the few of you that are watching, which I greatly appreciate, there's someone that there's someone in your area that's doing something unique and you have an in with, and while it might not be the sexiest thing that you want to just blast all over the internet to say, ooh, look at what I did, I think that if you were to lean into that, you might come to find that, one, you'll start to make some good money. You can start to kind of figure out your path and where you fit into this whole equation, because the one thing that I've kind of come across over the past 2 years of completely being on my own is that I'm pretty good at what I do, but my God, are there so many people out there that are better at certain things than myself. So like maybe I'm really good at like actually closing the deal or getting clients or whatever it may be, speed. But then there's someone out there that like they excel in graphic design or they excel in graphic animation, and they could kick my you know what in regards to being able to do better than what I can do. And I say all that to say is that you don't have to be the best. My dad used to always tell me it's okay to be a big fish in a small pond. And I think some of us sometimes, we see all these big creators. We see the people that are working with GoPro, that are working with Apple. You see all this behind the scenes of people shooting movies on Reds and Aris. And it can be a little discouraging when somebody like myself is over here just kind of working on like local events or weddings or local political things, whatever it may be. But I say that all to say that over the years, all these different projects and all these different types of industries that I've kind of gone in and dipped my toes in and given it a shot, it's just given me a broader view and perspective in regards to what I'm good at, what I want to do, and where I can actually make some income. So, my God, that is a roughly 26-minute ramble. Ugh, losing my train of thought here. But all I can say is, I just wanted to hop online. I just wanted to talk. I just wanted to jibber jabber. And it looks like a handful of you tuned in, and I really do appreciate it. I appreciate the comments, the questions, the concerns, and any of you guys that have been checking out the channel. The channel has been growing, and it's been really nice. It's been very rewarding. I will say some of the videos that I spend the most time and effort, the ones that are my passion projects, those don't ever seem to do great. But to be honest with you, it's one of those things where I think that if you can keep your head down, do what you really like to do while also being open to doing things that are going to get you to where you want to be, I think you'll find happiness, I think you'll find success, and I think money will come in along with that. So, all that to be said, thank you to those that tuned in. It's a Friday night. I'm sweating my nuts off here in the studio, but I'm very happy with the current year, how projects been going, how YouTube's been going. I do have an announcement in regards to teaming up with a company recently that, I'm getting paid to make damn YouTube videos. And that has been something that I put on a goal, list probably 3 or 4 years ago. And I, year after year after year, had to exit out that it never came to, and never came to life. That's maybe the word I was looking for. But this year it did, and it's been really rewarding. So that, on top of some of the personal video production stuff with Lowell Productions, some of these events, some of these projects that I've been able to be involved in have been really exciting in 2022. And I only imagine that 2022 leading into 2023, whether it be more camera talk, whether it be more BTS, whether it be more inspirational things, to give you guys an understanding that this path is not going to be easy, but it can be damn rewarding. It can provide for a great life. And yeah, I am just yapping to the internet at this point. So cheers, guys. I am going to cut this live stream and call it a night. So let's see. 1, 2, 3. Oh, and Dan, how's the S5 performance and the weddings? Okay. I'll answer this one last question real quick because I appreciate you hanging in there with me. Look, man, the S5 for weddings, as someone that shot a ton of weddings with a GH5, I have been blown away with the S5. Look, you can crank it up to ISO roughly 4,000. You can even go to 6,400. Still looks pretty solid. I want to say anything over 4,000, you're going to get some grain. That's okay. To be expected. But with that IBIS, it's going to be awesome. I mean, most of the time when I've gone to any weddings and I've shot them in the past, no gimbals really needed. If anything, it's just monopods and tripods and then handheld. And on top of that, my buddy who usually films weddings with me, he does all the photography with his S5. Now he has all native glass. But to answer your question, I found the S5 to be great. But the one thing that I'll state over and over again, because I don't want you to kind of be all in, and then the rude awakening is that autofocus. If that is something that you're relying on, please maybe stay away from the S5, because I don't want you guys to go out there and spend all that money and then it kind of kapooey on you. But the S5 for weddings is amazing if you're a manual focus puller and you're comfortable in that environment. I think you'll be very happy. And I mean, the price tag is just, I think it's great. But like I've mentioned, GH4 shooter, GH5 shooter, now S5 shooter. Probably will buy another S5 if not an S1H, or whatever eventually Lumix comes out with as their new full-frame camera moving into the future. But all right, guys, that's it, and I will see y'all in the next live stream. And thanks for tuning in. Yeah, dude. Thank you, Dan. Have a great night. And A1, appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. I'm out.